Okay, so you're looking into this Ventive Hospitality IPO,
Yeah.
and it seems like a lot of paperwork. A real document dump.
It is.
Don't worry, we got you covered, though.
Yeah.
We read through all that stuff, all the legalese and financial statements,
Right.
to bring you the need-to-know stuff about this company.
Yeah.
And you know what this IPO means for you as an investor.
That's right. We're going to give you the inside scoop, not
Yeah.
just the dry facts.
Right.
You know, the thing that's so interesting about this IPO is
Yeah.
the story behind it.
Okay.
How Ventive grew, what their strategy is, and the potential risks and rewards involved.
Got it.
So we're going to try to make sure
Okay.
that you come away from this deep dive feeling like you're
Yeah.
in the room with the key decision makers.
Okay, so let's start like the basics.
Yeah.
What is Ventive Hospitality?
Think luxury hotels and commercial real estate.
Okay.
And they're mainly focused on India and the Maldives.
Okay.
So, you know, they've built this portfolio of impressive properties from city hotels to those really pretty island resorts.
Yeah, and their growth has been pretty crazy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like that's got to be one of the big things that jumps out.
Yeah, we're talking about a company that started with just 83 keys
Wow.
back in 2007 and now has exploded to over 2,036 keys.
Wow.
As of March 31st, 2024. So that's
Let's see.
huge, more than 24 times their original size.
So that kind of growth is definitely eye-catching,
Yeah,
but it also makes me wonder, is it sustainable?
right.
Have they just gotten lucky, or is there a real strategy?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, their growth hasn't happened by accident.
Okay.
Part of it is tied to India's booming economy
Yeah.
and the increasing demand for travel and luxury experiences there.
Right.
But, you know, Ventive hasn't just ridden the wave. They've been very aggressive,
Yeah.
acquiring properties to expand their footprint.
Yeah, it really does seem like they've been on a buying spree lately.
They have.
What are some of the key acquisitions that stand out to you?
Well, one that really jumps out is this acquisition
Yeah.
of what they call the hotel business undertaking
Okay.
for $60 million.
Oh.
It's a big move that gives them a major foothold in a key market.
Right.
Then there's this purchase of equity shares
Yeah.
in Maldives Property Holdings, Private Limited,
Okay.
or MPHPL for short.
Got it.
And this is where you'll find those luxury resorts in the Maldives.
Right. Right.
We mentioned earlier.
So they're strategically placing themselves in both
Yeah,
high growth and high end markets.
exactly.
It's a bold strategy.
It is, but this rapid expansion,
Yes.
as impressive as it is,
Right.
comes with inherent risks.
Yeah.
Integrating these new acquisitions
Here.
into their existing operations is a huge undertaking.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And there's always the potential for unforeseen liability.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of all this growth
It is.
and overlook the potential downsides.
Yeah.
So are there any red flags you've noticed
Well, one thing,
in their acquisition strategy?
yeah, one thing that caught my attention is
Okay.
this legal battle brewing over one of their properties.
Okay.
Eon Karate Infrastructure Private Limited.
And what's going on with that?
So it involves a dispute over unpaid taxes.
Oh, no.
And it could potentially cost Ventive a lot of money
Yeah.
if the ruling doesn't go their way.
So besides acquisitions, what else is fueling Ventive's growth?
So they have like a two-pronged approach.
Okay.
They're focusing on organic growth
Yeah.
within their existing properties
Okay.
and inorganic growth
Got it.
through these strategic acquisitions.
Well, let's unpack that.
Sure.
What does their organic growth strategy look like?
So it's all about elevating the guest experience
Okay.
and attracting a more discerning,
Got it.
higher-paying clientele.
Okay.
Think premiumization.
Right.
They're constantly refining their offerings
Yeah.
to create a sense of exclusivity and luxury
Yeah.
that justifies higher prices.
Can you give us a concrete example
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
of how they're achieving this?
Look at their focus on food and beverage.
Okay.
In Pune, they boast 7 restaurants,
Wow.
rank in the top 10 for fine dining,
Okay.
according to TripAdvisor.
That's not just luck.
No, it's a deliberate strategy
Yeah.
to cater to a sophisticated palate
Right.
and enhance the overall guest experience.
And are there any numbers
Oh, yeah.
to back up the effectiveness of this strategy?
Definitely.
Correct.
The JW Marriott Pune saw a 12.41% jump
Okay.
in room revenue, driven largely by increased average room rates.
So it's working.
It seems to be.
They're not just adding properties. They're
Right.
actively improving the ones they have
Exactly.
to command higher prices.
Yeah.
What about the other side of their growth strategy?
Right. So
The inorganic growth through acquisitions.
Beyond these high-profile acquisitions in India and the Maldives,
Yeah.
Ventive is also actively seeking opportunities to expand their portfolio and tap into new markets.
Any particular regions on their radar?
Sri Lanka is definitely a target.
Oh.
And they're also planning to expand the Marriott Aloft
Okay.
in Whitefield, Bengaluru, by adding another 120 keys.
So it seems like they're aiming for a balanced approach,
I think so.
capitalizing on the growing demand in established markets
Yeah,
while simultaneously exploring new frontiers.
that's right.
Pretty ambitious plan.
It is.
But all this expansion and acquisition
Yeah,
must require a considerable amount of capital.
it does.
Is that why they're choosing to go public now?
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
They're going public to raise capital to fuel these ambitious plans.
Okay.
But before you jump on the IPO bandwagon,
Right.
we need to go a little deeper
Yeah.
and look at the financial details and the potential risks.
That sounds like a good place to pause for now.
Okay.
Stay tuned, because in the next part of this deep dive,
Okay.
we'll be unpacking Ventive's financial statements
Right.
and uncovering some potentially concerning details
Yeah.
that you as a potential investor absolutely need to know. Welcome back. We've covered Ventive's impressive growth
Yeah.
and their, ambitious acquisition spree.
Right.
But like any savvy investor, there's always more to the story.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about those potential risks.
Yeah.
You mentioned a legal battle over unpaid taxes
Right.
earlier.
Yeah.
Are there any other legal issues that have you raising an eyebrow?
Yeah, there's another case involving unpaid bills and bounced checks
Okay.
from a previous owner of one of their properties.
Oh, wow.
The Oakwood Residences in Tune.
Okay.
Ventive has filed complaints, and the matter is ongoing.
So we have two separate cases involving payment issues.
Yeah.
Is this a pattern or just a coincidence?
Well, it's too early to definitively call it a pattern.
Yeah.
But it does raise some valid concerns about Ventive's financial management
Right.
and their ability to resolve these disputes effectively.
It seems like there's always something lurking beneath the surface.
Yeah, that's the nature of investing.
Right.
Especially with IPOs.
Yeah.
It's crucial to, peel back the layers and really understand the full picture
Right.
before making any decisions.
Absolutely.
And speaking of getting a clear picture,
Yeah.
let's dive into their financial statements.
Okay.
That's where the real story often unfolds.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about their financial health?
Okay.
Based on these statements, what should we be paying attention to?
One thing that jumps out is their debt level.
Okay.
As of March 31st, 2024, Ventive had what they call a pro forma net debt
Okay.
of $34,071.58 million.
Wow, that does sound like a lot.
It is.
It makes you wonder if they've overextended themselves with all these acquisitions.
I mean, that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
Investors will want to see a clear plan for how they're going to manage this debt long term.
Right.
It's not just about reducing it.
Yep.
It's about demonstrating a sustainable financial strategy.
Yeah.
That balances growth with,
Right.
responsible debt management.
So how do they plan to tackle this mountain of debt?
Well, they've stated that a large portion of the IPO proceeds will go towards paying down debt.
Okay, so that's a good first step.
Yeah.
But it's only part of the equation, right?
It is.
What else should investors be scrutinizing in these financial statements?
One thing to watch closely is their use of pro forma adjustments.
Okay, and what are those exactly?
So these adjustments are meant to illustrate
Yeah.
the financial impact of acquisitions
Okay.
as if they had already taken place.
But that seems a bit misleading, doesn't it?
It can be.
Yeah.
It's not like those acquisitions have actually happened yet.
Right. It's almost like they're trying to present a rosier picture than reality.
That's the danger of pro forma adjustments. While they can be helpful in understanding the potential impact, they're not a guarantee of future performance.
Of course.
They're essentially hypothetical scenarios that need to be interpreted with caution.
So buyer beware.
Yes.
Are there any other red flags we should be watching out for in their financials?
Another aspect that requires careful consideration is the complexity of their accounting methods.
Okay.
So they're using a combination of Ind AS, which are essentially the Indian accounting standards, and what they call special purpose carve-out financial statements.
Okay, that sounds complicated.
It is a little.
Can you break it down for us non-accountants?
Sure.
Why does this matter?
Essentially, these different methods can make it tricky
Okay.
to compare Ventive's financials with other companies
Yeah.
that might be using different standards.
Right.
So it adds a layer of complexity for investors.
Got it.
Trying to get a clear and accurate picture
Right.
of their true financial performance.
So we need to be extra cautious
Yeah.
when analyzing their numbers.
Right.
And make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
Ex-
It seems like evaluating this IPO is a bit like navigating a minefield.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
There are definitely potential rewards,
Right.
but also significant risks
Yeah.
that need to be carefully considered.
Absolutely.
Investors need to go beyond the surface
Yeah.
and really dig into the details
For sure.
to make an informed decision.
Well, you've certainly given us a lot to digest here.
I hope so.
I'm starting to understand why you said this IPO is
Yeah,
particularly interesting.
it is.
It's not as straightforward
No,
as it might seem at first glance.
not at all.
Okay, so in the final part of our deep dive,
Right.
we'll step back from the nuts and bolts of Ventive
Yeah.
and look at what this IPO tells us about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The trends shaping the hospitality and real estate industries
Right.
in India and beyond.
That's right.
Sounds fascinating. I can't wait to hear what insights
Okay.
you've gleaned from this IPO. We'll be right back.
Okay, we're back and ready to wrap up our look at Ventive Hospitality's IPO.
We've, looked closely at the company,
Right.
their financials,
Yeah.
uncovered some potential problems,
Right.
and now I think it's time to zoom out,
Okay.
see what this IPO tells us about the bigger picture.
Right. Ventive's story is interesting, but
Yeah.
it also shows some broader trends
Ah.
shaping the hospitality and real estate industries,
Yeah.
particularly in India and the Maldives.
Okay, so let's start with India.
Okay.
What's the outlook for these sectors there?
India's economy is doing really well.
Yeah.
It's creating a growing middle class with more money to spend.
Yeah.
And this leads to a surge in demand
Okay.
for travel, leisure, luxury experiences.
Right.
Which is good news for companies like Ventive.
So their bet on India seems pretty safe.
It's a smart bet, but there are challenges.
Okay, like what?
Well, growth attracts competition.
Of course.
India's hospitality market is attracting everyone,
Right.
both domestic and international players.
Yeah.
It's a very competitive space.
So Ventive will need to work hard to stand out from the crowd.
They will.
What about their commercial real estate business?
Right.
How does that fit into things?
That's another interesting angle.
Okay.
India's rapid urbanization is fueling a huge demand for space,
Okay.
office and retail spaces.
Right?
Especially in places like Pune and Bengaluru,
Yeah.
where Ventive is already strong.
Okay, so they're well positioned to take advantage of this.
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
But again, they're not the only players.
Right.
There are big companies already in India's commercial real estate market.
Yeah.
And new ones are appearing all the time.
Okay.
Ventive's success will depend on their ability to
Yeah.
secure the best locations, attract the best tenants, and manage their properties well.
It seems like Ventive is walking a tightrope
Yeah.
between a huge opportunity
Right.
and really intense competition.
It is.
It sounds like they need to be on their toes.
They do. Their ability to adapt is going to be crucial.
Right.
And that brings us to their expansion into the Maldives, which has a whole different set of opportunities and risks.
Now, Ventive's move into the Maldives is interesting.
It is.
It's a completely different market than India, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The Maldives is all about luxury.
Yeah.
It caters to a very specific type of traveler.
Right.
You know, picture-perfect beaches, overwater bungalows, high-end resorts.
Right. It's a world away from India.
It is.
So Ventive is tapping into a niche market here.
Yeah.
What's driving the growth in the Maldives?
So the Maldives has had this huge rebound in tourism since the pandemic.
Okay.
People want to travel again. And for many,
Yeah.
the Maldives is the ultimate escape.
Yeah, I can see that.
You have a chance to relax in paradise.
But isn't the Maldives vulnerable to things outside their control?
Yeah.
Like global economic problems or travel restrictions?
You're right, yeah. The Maldives relies so much on international tourism.
Yeah.
So they're really susceptible to global trends and the economy.
Okay, so that's a risk that Ventive will have to think about. So their investments in the Maldives are riskier
I'd say so.
than their operations in India.
Yeah, it's like you're making a gamble,
Right.
a calculated one.
Okay.
The Maldives could have big rewards,
Yeah.
but there's also a lot of volatility and things they can't control.
So it's all about not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
What's really interesting is how this IPO shows us so much
Yeah,
about what's happening in these industries.
I agree.
It's not just about Ventive.
Right.
It's like a window into bigger trends.
Exactly.
So what does all this mean for our listeners?
Yeah.
The people trying to decide if they should invest.
This deep dive has given you a pretty complete look at Ventive Hospitality, their strategy, their financials, and the larger market forces.
Right.
So now you can make a better decision.
Remember, investing in an IPO is never a sure thing.
Yeah.
Do your own research. Weigh the rewards and risks.
Right.
And make a decision that works for your goals.
And your risk tolerance. Yeah. Exactly. And if you want to learn more, we've got links to the source documents in the show notes.
Happy reading.
That wraps up our deep dive into Ventive Hospitality's IPO.
Yeah.
We hope you found it helpful.
I hope so.
Until next time, happy investing.